Hi. So, a little while ago over on my blog, I did a post about the channels I stopped watching. And by channels, I mean YouTube. Now, I spent a lot of time in that post mostly talking about CinemaSins and Channel Awesome Nostalgia Critic. And that actually, while good, doesn't address some of the channels that I stopped watching for purely disinterest. Like those two particular channels I basically stopped watching because of either moral conviction or because I refuse to continue to perpetuate stupidity and bad and lazy film criticism. I won't do it anymore. So this video is a bit of a bonus, and I want to talk about a couple of the channels that I actually stopped watching just based on disinterest and not really liking the content. And I don't think that there's a better way to start this video than saying I did go through a very, very brief Phil DeFranco phase, and pretty recently actually, because I was just sort of in a weird age cusp where I didn't really know him early on, but I did know him pretty recently, within the last couple of years. I'm gonna say 2 to 3 years, and for a while, I did find his style of news and social commentary to be kind of refreshing because he does do these really big morally staunch statements where he's very against profiting off of children and stuff like that. And I could kind of appreciate that because a lot of the content that I ingest is sort of culturally and morally relative. But after a while, I just got tired of him kind of playing morally gray with bigger social issues. Um, I will say this, in these trying times, I've become increasingly sort of unwilling to humor certain arguments, and the way he would kind of morally gray hate crimes and stuff like that, that just started to get under my skin. That's just my opinion. I'm more than happy to accept comments, but that was just to me starting to really wear on me, this kind of well, from both sides of the story, and it's there's no other side to this story, this was just bad. Also, some of his stuff with BetterHelp started to get under my skin a little bit. I don't have time in this video to go over the BetterHelp scandal, because I'm going to call it a scandal. But yeah, I had issue with him continuing to take sponsorship money from them. So Phil DeFranco is a channel that I recently unsubscribed to, so that was fun. Let's just say that. Here's one that I think might be a shocker to people, is that I completely separated myself from ingesting game theory and film theory. Basically anything that is MatPat. Now, if you know me, you would think that something like film theory and game theory are right up my alley. And I would say 7 to 8 times out of 10, you are absolutely correct. I loved game theory and film theory a lot. So again, I fell into this stuff relatively recently. I would say within the last 4 or so years. And actually, what got me into game theory GT was Five Nights at Freddy's, which, if you do not know me in real life, is actually something that goes into the box of I love the lore a lot and can talk about the lore way more than you would ever assume for someone who hates jump scares. So I don't like the Five Nights at Freddy's games, but I think that the lore behind it is actually shockingly kind of smart. So I fell into GT peak. This was basically a FNAF channel. And I know he lost a lot of subscribers during that time, but I was here for it because he was doing some serious lore analysis on FNAF. Um, I did every once in a while watch some of the game theory live with him and his wife, and I mostly found them entertaining. I will say this, and this is just kind of a personal nitpick. Uh, MatPat as this very positive person, I just sort of inherently find disingenuous. And I know that based on conversations that have happened on Twitter and people telling stories meeting him and stuff, that's just him. And I'm so glad that those kinds of people still exist in this world. But I'm a dirty, filthy internet goblin. So to me, that level of just genuinely not being a mean person will always read a little Stepford wifey to me. Here's where I actually fell out of love with game theory and film theory. So game theory and film theory tended to always kind of be like a stretch. Like, how many Marios does it take to make a Peach, or just like weird using shadows to figure out height, and like using physics to figure out like Mario Olympics and stuff like that. And that kind of stuff I really, really like. But as I think he started to comment more on the like drama kind of stuff, like his PewDiePie videos where he kind of blames YouTube as being the problem for PewDiePie, I kind of didn't like that. Also, his videos increasingly became a stretch. Like, well, how are these two completely unrelated things actually related? That just really got to me. As someone who does social media for like a living, I understand clickbait and I get it. You want those clicks. You've succeeded. I've given you my attention. But also now I hate you. So I think after a while it just started to wear on me. And he did sort of like pivot away from FNAF a little bit. So I lost like my one reason that I had that I was still attached to him. It's not that I could never go back and watch those videos. Like, I know when I was mulling over doing some like deeper lore analysis for FNAF, like I would always consider like going back and watching those videos. And I do think that like he and his wife are genuinely funny in some of the streams. It just, after a while, it started to just get under my skin of these like increasingly clickbait, like these two things are not related at all kind of videos that went on for seemingly ever. Like, he also makes like really long videos. And don't get me wrong, I can like hang with a long video. I just watched all 40 something minutes of a Dan Olson's video on Gemini Man, and I've watched like almost every Lindsay Ellis video, and most of her videos are like pushing an hour. Same thing with ContraPoints. It's not that I can't hang with long videos. There just has to be a reason for why it's this long. So if you're going to talk at me for 20 to 30 minutes on like two things that are tenuously related, I flat out don't care. I'm sorry. So yeah, really those are the only two like on the top of my head that I like actively unsubscribed from due to like an issue with content rather than just like a sort of moral high ground. I say this mostly just from a state of like my personal taste. I'm not here to judge or shame anyone if you still watch Game Theorist or if you still watch Phil DeFranco. Like, life is short, we all die. It's not my place to like tell you that you're wrong for that. Even if you still watch some of the channels that I admitted not watching anymore based on like moral issues, like Channel Awesome, I hated admitting that Nostalgia Critic had some really good ideas and some really, really good videos. But to me, it just feels irresponsible to continue to watch that stuff. Same with CinemaSins at this point. If you're looking for recommendations of channels that I'm watching right now, I mentioned a few of them. Lindsay Ellis is a huge inspiration to me. ContraPoints, I think, is just mandatory viewing for all people on Earth if you're not watching her stuff. There is no time like the present. Dan Olson, Underfolding Ideas, is really, really good. Let's see, what else? I really like Screen Junkies. I mentioned that earlier. And then smaller YouTubers. Like, I fell down a bit of a manga tube wormhole, so like Mama Loves Manga and stuff like that. Pretty much, YouTube is great because it democratizes your interests. If you want to talk or find something, you can, which is why I'm glad that you guys are here listening to me right now talk about the YouTube channels that I stopped watching. If you have any questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you want to talk about more channels that I'm following or am obsessed with, feel free to let me know. This was super fun, and I hope that this makes up for the lack of content. I should be coming back to you guys soon with some wig stuff, because I love talking about wigs. Talk to you guys all again soon. Bye!